takes. Real talk, real issues, you know the deal. We keep it fresh, we keep it true. All Mary with the voice podcast.
Hello, Ebele.
Hello, Mary.
Nice seeing you again.
Same here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mary with a Voice podcast, where my intention with this podcast is healing every soul one story at a time.
Wow.
So I can't wait to hear your story. You gave me just snippets of it when I met you, and I said, no, hold it. I don't want to hear everything. Let me be as surprised as the viewers to hear the story firsthand when you're telling it. So you are Ebele.
Yes.
I have on my card Miss Ebele Ejiofor.
Yes.
It says Miss Ebele Ejiofor. Is it Miss? I wasn't, to my assistant, I wasn't sure when they were sending out the invitation.
I saw it. I
she
chuckled.
asked me, is it Miss or Mrs.? I said, put Miss. We'll fix it when she's here so that we hear the story behind, is it Miss or Mrs.?
Okay, so Ebele Ejiofor is my maiden name. Ejiofor is my maiden name, but I always answer to Mrs. Mrs. because I've been through 3 to 4 marriages. I've lost count.
I want to know, I said...
But right now I answer Mrs. because I've come to the conclusion that I'm married deep down in my soul. Marriage is beyond the paperwork, it's beyond the vows. You can take vows and they mean nothing. But I've come to the conclusion that the only reason why I'm still alive here is that I'm really married to a being. Married in the sense that our souls are intertwined. Like, I feel a oneness that is, I cannot...
With who?
With God the Creator. It's so that's when I answer that Mrs. It's for him. It's my own way of living a very consecrated, very, very privileged life. I've had a very privileged life in him.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So, remember I said I wanted to know Ebele, the child.
Yes.
Let's go down to who was Ebele the child and what happened to Ebele the child before she went to uni and that journey.
Ebele the child...
you grew up with a...
I grew up I come from a family of 5 children. I had both my parents, both have passed on right now. And so I was the first of 5 children. We were raised, I was born in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, but we came back to Nigeria, I think. I was in the 70s. And we've lived in Lagos, the same house address forever. And I had the privilege of everything a good child from a proper home should have. Nothing prepared me for.
So when did life start throwing lemons at you? When was it at uni? At what point in life
did I suddenly realize?
Yeah. Did the lemon start like, okay, no, this is not how my, it's been?
Yes. I think when I came to the conclusion, not just me, a couple of other people, that something is off, was in my teenage years, just when I was about rounding up from my secondary school. I couldn't explain why I was always melancholic. I was always sad, had bouts of depression. I didn't lack anything. So it wasn't like maybe there was financial needs, because I came from an average home. My dad had everything he could provide. He was a businessman, doing very well. But I became the butt of jokes, and
what jokes?
From secondary school, my classmates, fatso.
Okay, so you were heavier then?
Yes, I'd always been a very heavy child, and I didn't think it was anything, out of it. But words will come, and I noticed that I started to... I wasn't interested in education. It was a struggle. Not because I was not brilliant, but it just wasn't connecting.
to looking back now,
Yes.
and I don't want this to sound like a therapy
Yes,
session,
yes.
but looking back now, was it that because you were fat shamed, the depression of that, not having self-esteem, not looking like other children, that may have pulled you back?
I think when I look back, I realized
The
that
melancholic.
what had happened was around when I was 9, yes, standing on the balcony, I lived on a very busy street.
Okay.
And this is me standing at this balcony looking over, and suddenly I hear an ambulance. And so I turned to the housemate next to me and I'm like, what's that sound? She said, it's an ambulance. I said, why? She said, for sick people that may die. And I said, what is death? She said, death was the finality of existence on earth. That kind of panicked me at that young age. And I'm thinking, so when they die, where do they go? She said she didn't know. But I knew that from that moment, I had that at the back of my mind. So you mean we don't get to live forever? Oh. So that chattered for me.
That awareness of...
Yes, growing up, I remember everything was fine, food, little things. It was even much more later, sometime I think between my 30s and 40s, I realized that I'd suffered an abuse at 5 years younger, because it just came like a mental unblock. And I'm like, oh my God. But at this point, that question set me back. So you mean this life we're living, one day you're going to escape? And I'm like, so why are we living? And so if we're going to another world, where is that world? And so I always, one moment I'm happy, the other moments, yes. So what happened
the
next?
To know.
So that put me at that place where I felt, when I was always one moment happy, one moment sad.
Oh, that was the trigger.
And then with the when the scorn came from classmates, the yaps, that's what we called it then, they threw at me. I became more depressed, because how would you understand how someone you're sitting with this minute, you're all reading books together, talking after the teacher goes out, and then in another episode, they're throwing a jab at you. I couldn't reconcile. Why?
How are you like this one minute?
Why are you like that? So I always had that, something. So sometimes I'm withdrawn, I'm not talking, taciturn, then the next moment I'm playful. So the struggle became that,
It was the awareness of life and death.
Yes.
And then now you struggle with, this is not eternal. Someday it will be over.
Yes. And
how was now going into uni? So you went into uni with all this self-awareness of death, being bullied, the physical bulliness, and then you now went into uni.
I had some very unusual encounters.
Like the profound ones during uni?
No, before the uni.
Okay.
And I had that episode that I had gone to bed. I was a junior student, so I slept on the up bunk. And I just went to bed. And one of them nights, I just noticed that I was sleeping away. Like, I literally saw me going off, and I'm looking at my body. I'm saying, I don't know where this is coming from. Don't take me. I got back into my body. It happened twice. And the third time, I just jumped up. I said no. And I ran to another hostel where I was familiar with people, because I wasn't very close to the people. No, it wasn't. It was real, because I literally, and so that panicked me. That really panicked me, and I went, they prayed with me, and I don't remember going back to my hostel that night. And then I kept all this to myself, because I didn't fit in. When you wake up and feel like, what am I really doing in this world? Why am I here? I'd always had that consciousness. And then by the time we finished secondary school, maybe I would have to refer back to one or two more episodes, but by the time we finished secondary school, I got into the university, and I schooled at the University of Lagos. I was really lost. I just went into school, I I was doing a course I wasn't interested in. My father wanted me to read medicine, but I wasn't medically inclined or science inclined. And my uncle would say she will do better. My dad was like, I'm having none of it. And if she changes her course, I will disown her. So this is me trying to read a script. And all through all that phase, I'm sure there are periods where I would have to always refer, but by the time we finished secondary school, went for youth service, I think this was the one point that it struck me that up till my university days, I was just floating.
You're just existing.
Because we finished youth service. And then on that day, I remember a few of us that were Christians sat together and everyone was like, so now that we finished youth service, what are you going to do with your life? I was sitting at the last, and if everyone already had a plan, and this is youth service at 24, everybody knew what they wanted to do. And when it got to my turn, I sat there blank. I looked up, I looked down. There was nothing that I knew that I wanted to do. And that was when I realized that, so you mean I've been living without direction? I was just
existing.
I was existing. And I felt so lost and so afraid. I went to my bed that night, very dampened, like everything that, one said, I'm off to Singapore, my uncle is going to take me up there, my dad, I'm going back to further my studies. No such plan. Nothing. And I think it was what I would title the beginning of my lost years that went on till...
Lost years meaning
lost because at that point,
yes. What happened? What are the series of?
There was a desperation to fit in.
What does it mean? Did you work? Did you find a job eventually?
Yes, I wanted to fit in. I decided, okay, you know what? You're going to have to become something.
Okay.
You're going to have to fit into this world. And
did you gain work, employment after the youth service? Everybody was going off.
Okay.
Did you eventually gain employment, or because you were existing?
Yes, I was existing.
Did something eventually come up for
yes,
you?
I had dated this guy at the uni, and we broke up, and I got a letter from him, a very funny letter, to come marry him. So
he sent a letter to come and marry him.
That I should come over. The letter read like...
Over where?
He sent it by road, by post. Obviously, by post, it got to me. And if you're still interested in marrying me, please come and marry me now. Yes, trust me, So that's the beginning of one of the many crazy things.
Wait, so the letter came, it sounds like... So the letter came...
Yes.
By road, you had dated him.
Yes, I dated him in the university.
There were no contacts.
We broke up.
Nothing.
When I moved on, and
so this is you trying to gain employment.
This is me finishing youth. Just before I finished youth service, like we were bored. There wasn't much to do at Sokoto State where I served. So a fellow cop had said to me, there are new intakes. Come, let's go do something. And I said, no problem. She said, let's go pay for a shop and let's sell buckets. So I sounded the idea off to a secondary school mate that lived in Sokoto, because I had schooled at Federal Government Girls College, Buhari, Abuja. There were a few of my northern friends up north in Sokoto. So I was close to one of them. And so I approached her and I said, let's, because she's married, she lives in her home. I'm like, so person said, let's do this. And she was like, Ebele, a lot of other people are going to be selling buckets. Let's do something different, because for me, this is a copper saying, come, let's join funds. And I'm thinking, how much funds do we have to own a shop? So let me approach my own girl. Like, this is her state.
So the bucket business...
business didn't work out because she didn't want to be part of it, the copper. But I'm that person that once I start, I've started. So homeschool girl who was now happily married in Sokoto was like, Ebele, we can do it. And I was like, what can we do? She said, we can do chicken and... She said, what can we do? I said, oh, yes, I remember Unilag, we had this famous chicken and chips joint. So let's replicate it. And she was like, but I'm in Kule, like, I'm covered up, I can't come. I said, don't worry, you just do the preps and just give me assistance. So her husband took me, we paid for the store, and it was a huge success. Like, the subsequent coppers came on board and were like, when they said to them, do you know she's a copper? Because I used to, at the end of the sale, sleep. So that was where I was when the letter came.
Okay.
One night, they said, oh, Ebele, Ejiofor, you have a letter, because I'm a copper. It's so easy for them to have had the network of. And I opened it and I saw this letter, dear Ebele, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember, but the very crazy line was, if you still want to marry me, please come and marry me. Because
today they will call it a red flag.
That was a red flag, but this is a 24-year-old girl. I don't know if it's proper to say this, but my mom, in the little dating career, that's what I call it, so looking back.
A career in dating?
Dating, yes, because I had a very exotic catalog of, I'd seen it, been there, searching for love, the quest for acceptance, led me into many arms. And, I remember...
What was the quest?
The quest for acceptance.
Mm-hmm. What quest was it?
Because I never really got it from home.
I thought you had everything, though.
No, I had everything material. Okay. Coming from a typical Igbo family, my father's love language was provision. Okay. And so we had everything. And my mother was just your typical Newi businesswoman, always about her business, little businesses. Okay. So at that age, because I say that because today I have a 12-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. At that age where I needed to always maybe ask questions and say things.
Feel seen.
There was no one.
Okay.
I had to do all the discovery myself and whatever I garnered from the secondary school.
Okay, so which places did you go looking for love? I
searched for it, and then I had this particular funny episode where one time I had to go to my dad's friend's family. They had a daughter my age, mm-hmm. and sleepover, and I think I stayed there for a while. And I remember her one night piling up pillows, covered. She had to go through the window because she had a night party.
Piling up pillows how?
Like pile up to look like she was there in case maybe her mom checked.
Oh, on the bed.
Yes, so we looked like we were together. Oh. But she had gone off. And
how did she go off? Through the window?
Maybe through the window, yes. The car was waiting because she had this party.
Did you stay?
Yes, of course, I stayed back. I was prim and proper growing up. But then I go back to my home and every small thing, it was a very toxic home. Everything looked picture perfect on the surface, but deep down it was a very dysfunctional family because my mom would come back. And looking back, maybe some days things weren't going off fine for her, between her and my dad. I bore the brunt. Sometimes she would call me out, stand me in front of the settee and rubbish. Oh, you see, this person is better than you. It was always comparison. And so one day she was comparing me to this person and I'm thinking, really? I couldn't say anything.
We still do that today.
Yes. And you're comparing me to someone that I knew that, because I was pretty much a very quiet child because I was always melancholic. I was always in between moods,
yeah, like you said,
wondering
yeah.
But I think I had parents that were just too busy to understand the child that they had. It was towards the end of their lives. They made it up apologizing, but so much damage had been done. There was so much absenteeism. I grew up my own way. In fact, I remember a guy saying, I can't date you, I can't marry you because at 9 I was playing football and you are there having many, many dramas, So, I had I think my mom, in fairness to her, you can't give more than you have. You can't give more than you have experienced. She was equally an orphan, no sibling. Her mom had died at 6 years. When she was 6, she never had a father and no sibling. So growing up, a few foster homes. She really didn't know love. She didn't know it. She couldn't communicate it.
Yeah.
I think that made it easier for me to forgive her when I was a lot older, because one of the major things the Lord helped me do was always understand why this person dished this pain. Don't just look at the pain. Where is this person coming from? That made it easy for me to let go.
But as the child,
yes.
How did that affect you?
As the child, I was rejected.
All came later.
You know, I can tell you 2 words that mapped my first 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Was rejection and betrayals. And I think it's very important that I state this, that around when I was finishing my secondary school, when I say rejection in my secondary school, you had these episodes where, but we're all teeny boppers. One moment this person is your close friend. You have good moments. You go to class, you go to prep together, and then they switch on you. To them, it was normal, but for me, it wasn't normal. What? Because I dealt with the guilt, with the burden of what did I do wrong. So I had years. It took 40-something years for me to realize I really wasn't wrong. I didn't do anything. But that, what did I do wrong, started because no excuse, no nothing. Someone just switch on you. So what did happen? Nothing. And
switch on you, like, give me one of the examples of people switching on you.
You're in house 4, I'm in house 6, and before you get to my house 6 is near the gate, and you're at house 4 behind, and then you would come to my hostel, pick me up, let's go to read for prep. We do things, we go to dinner together at the refectory. It's a boarding school. And we practically did everything during study times, night prep, we schooled. Everything looked like we were Siamese twins. And then one day the person just, for those little things, they were precious for me. They were my life. I belonged. I was accepted. Then in another split second, the person just ghost you. That's the word today.
They find a new friend.
Yeah, they ghost you. And you're trying to say, hello, what happened? No word, no communication. People, today I hear people say, oh, men. It's not men, women, it's everyone. Because this was a pure female secondary school. And this was just a tender person who valued everything and everyone.
Were you able to go home with all these experiences?
So it would always leave me in bouts of depression, and the principal would always send for my parents, who were always too busy to come. They weren't ready to come. You're always receiving letters. And then at the home front, my father gravitated towards me. He often would say I named you after my mother. I loved her. She's the only woman I really loved, which was detrimental to the marriage. You can't marry a woman and then you tell her, like, yes, how you name. So at some point, I was my mother's rival. Oh. And so this is me collecting heat from her for something I did not know about. I mean, I can process all this now because I've had to journey severally back into my past to ask myself. I took, I think after my mother passed on, and one of the last marriage that was supposed to happen that didn't happen, and I knew I was going to die. So I called an auntie friend. I said, look, if you don't want me dead, take me out of this country. She bought me a ticket to join her in Uganda. So that's 10 months in Uganda was just the final tipping point. But I had to say, Lord, I think I'm ready to hold your hand. Take me back to the journey of my life where all this happened. Because this is a 7-8-year-old, 9-10-year-old girl who knew nothing. But I was responsible for emotions that I didn't know. I was constantly in defense. Because my mom would do that, and then she
Your
would.
father was not aware that
He
it
was
was happening to
he
you?
was very quiet. He was not a talking type. I think it was. If you ask me today, he hated. He hated dialoguing. He hated being confrontation. He wasn't a confrontation. Yes, he wasn't. So he would just stand up and go to his bedroom.
But he saw the effect of his love for you.
I don't think he really saw the effect. For him, he was like, okay, I have the money. I'm providing.
Also see what you've seen, that it wasn't your fault, that it was your father who...
As far all they saw was...
you having it all.
Like today, we're in court.
With your siblings?
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember that when their lawyer came to meet me to hear my side of the story, like that's what, before you go to the next level. One of his comments to me was, he says, that's why it's not good for parents to show too much affection to one child.
Have a favorite.
He gave his example. He has 2 kids. His son, when he says come, the son will come, the daughter will not. Obviously, his son is more compliant, but he can't show it. That the drama you are facing is beyond fighting over this or that. It's the hatred that is coming from you were your father's favorite. But they did not see, even though I know that I took time to explain to my younger sister who at some point in her life had to stay with me in my apartment in Abuja, and she said, sis, why is it that everyone is everyone is afraid, nobody really wants to talk to you, nobody wants to mix with you, what is it about you? And I remember her asking that question lying down on my bed and me having my bath in a bathtub, and I told her, come, let me tell you some things. And when I was done, this same sister fighting me today said, you ought to have been in a psychiatric hospital if you went through all of this and you're still normal. If I ever see anyone that runs my sister down, I will fight them. That's the same sister that has joined to cook up lies. Or sometimes all I want to do is pick my little 12-year-old daughter, pack a handbag, and take off. Leave everything and run. Then another thing says, will you run forever? You've been running all your life. Stand and fight. Fight back. Because they've chased you everywhere. In my office, I've worked in places where I was noticed. I worked with someone who was a minister in this country. She had an organization. I was brought in there because we had been in a political setting, and my excellent contribution in terms of the office given to me and my everything, out of the 36 states plus FCT, I was one of the 3 outstanding state managers that did well. So that opened me up to her. She moved me to one of her private organizations. Obviously, taking up a political appointment, you needed to step down from your business portfolio. And I went into this office space with so much gusto, with energy. Like from day one, I started running. Like I had.
You knew what you were doing.
I wanted to do, and still yet.
What happened?
It wasn't good enough. Like one of the directors called me a few months before they terminated my appointment. That, see, Ebele, you're a threat.
Because of what?
This DMD, Deputy Managing Director, and the other directors are all gossiping you. You're too much. You're doing too much. They feel threatened.
Your busybody was too much.
And you're overdoing your own now. What is it? Because I understand that sometimes when the secretary had said to me of that sometimes maybe when she asks what's happening, she'll be like, what's her performance like? Because there was a report that had been done by another group that we didn't know about how I had performed, So I was a threat. I said, Ebele, I don't see you lasting here. They're going to take you out. And she had brought him from London, like he wasn't trained. He was an expert in what he was doing. And he said, and truly it worked out. Like I woke up one day, got to the office as usual doing, and The week before, I'd been given a check to go repair my official car, take it to the service center of the car brand. Mine, I was always getting everything answered. Like, no, she's innovative. She comes up with ideas to solve solutions. The next minute, week after, I'm getting a letter from the same person. We're shutting down. You say, unfortunately, we can't get you some of the equipments and things you need for your department, so we're shutting it down. You just go home. And all they took from me, because I still have today my ID card from the organization. All they were after was that car, little car that I was using. They felt I was everywhere. What more? I mean, what's your own? Just come end of month, collect salary. But I'd always been someone who, everything that I did, I poured all of me. It was either all of me or nothing. So I did not understand hypocrisy. I did not understand certain things that it seems. Recently, I was talking to an auntie of mine. I said, I feel like an alien. She said, but you're an alien. People like you are rare. You are rare. I said, I feel, because I don't understand how.
You don't find your kind.
Yes, we are rare.
You can't.
I don't know how we chit chat. I talk to you, you bring me to your home, and tomorrow I'm stepping up, I'm gossiping you. So if I have a problem with you, I better just tell you. And it's a standard in my life. They say, what Ebele can't tell you in front of you, she's not saying behind you. So sometimes I hear people, Ebele, did you say this about me? Yes, I said, because that is what you are. And I'm telling you to your face.
Oops.
Simple. Oops. Take it or leave it. That is what it is.
Oops. So, wow, it's the backstabbing.
So, okay, I'll give a very, very, I shouldn't say this, but I'm saying it because you never know who needs healing. So this is my mother in a quest to go after me.
Sorry, go after you.
Go after me, because subconsciously, that's the way my little psychological brain can wire around it. Like, trying to understand her person, because she didn't know that was what she was doing. It was like a vendetta, subconsciously.
Her first child.
Yes. After me were two boys. She was so favorably disposed to them. So I'm going to give you 2 episodes. In one episode, we are preteens. Oh, Ebele, I'm going out. You guys need to do some household chores. Get them to sweep, mop the sitting room. You do yours, because, you can't just leave everything bundled up for the maid. And I finish mine, and I go to the sitting room, and they were watching wrestling. And I'm like, you guys shouldn't be watching this wrestling. Mommy said, Mama is what we call that then, said you should do this. They said, no, you can't. I said, this is what she said. And so I switch off. These 2 boys brought out their belts and belted the living daylight out of me. I was 1 year. They were belting and beating, and we were fighting. Now, as soon as my mother's car comes into the garage, they run downstairs to her to report.
That.
I don't know what version they told her, and she's coming up the staircase. I mean, confidently that, okay, Mama, let me tell you. As soon as she gets up the staircase, this is me. I'm sure I hadn't done my GS3. Mama, see what happened, and she didn't even allow me speak. Why did you go and switch off? She just, without even listening, she just slammed me, shut me down. So this is me in my little corner. I used to have letters where I would write my suicide notes.
Journals. You had journals.
I had journals. I still have a lot of them. And then it was in one of them when they were looking for me, one of my suicide episodes. I mean, I lost count of my suicide episodes.
Did you actually attempt any, or you just thought about them?
I would think about it, and the closest I actually did was think about them.
I never attempted.
Not really attempt in the sense of it, but no, I wouldn't say I really attempted it.
But you thought about.
I was suicidal, and I think I chickened out, not because I couldn't attempt, because I'd done more harm to my body than some of my suicide attempts. In my quest to be slim, I've push this body to some overdrive. Like I've had to take stuff, go through some rigorous diet regimen, like just to lose weight. I would lose it, and once again it pops up. So I started to apologize to my body, because I realized that my body also had its own mind. So I'm healing. It's
not just the mental.
Yes, I had been wrong, because trust me, I could go months I did all the famous Atkins keto. I did all of that.
Oh,
Sometimes,
Atkins.
I did all of
Really?
that. Yes, I would
Atkins
lose
was, I
40
think, one of my
kg.
first.
I did 50 kg off. I did it, but
Will
now my
find
body
you.
is not responding. It's like whether you eat or you don't eat, I'm not going.
I'm
Do your
sticking with
worst. So this is me learning to love my body all over again
Right.
and be comfortable.
In a healthier mindset.
Yes, because I realized that everything had to do with acceptance. So for once, don't accept me. I've accepted myself because my maker has accepted me. Because the world is cruel. Mankind is cruel. So, and going back to that episode, she did that.
That was the first. You said
That
you
was
had 2 episodes.
the second one was my dad used to give me pocket monies. I think 250 naira way back
That was the last.
to help his daughter. So he allowed me. Then we had this St. Ives. We had all this. He was like, he had this thing about take care of yourself. I can't remember what it was that had gone wrong. And my mom went and told him a story and said it's because you're spoiling her with money. Maybe I had bought something or I can't remember. So my dad discontinued this allowance. And so I said, okay, you know what? You want to push me. And that's why till today I laugh at the whole world. You push me harder, I go higher. Because if I could survive this as an 11, 12-year-old girl. So I knew I was watching and I saw all the drama playing. And my father, I don't want to go against my wife so it doesn't look like, and at the same time, this is your little daughter. She never made any attempt to be my friend. Mm-hmm. And that was why when I gave birth at 38 and she came, I said, what are you doing here? There is no relationship. She went through pain having to understand that she was not really there. But so this is what she did. Very painful. I really want to share this because I'm sure someone out there will be hurting and saying, you don't know what my mother did. I'll tell you, did she go this bad? Low? Like, I literally went into the bathroom. My period started. Normally, I would have bought my sanitary towel, pack of it, with my allowance. But she stopped it. So I said, no, what? I'm going to find a way out. I always find a way. It doesn't matter. You throw me in there. I tell people, throw me in there. And so I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to wrap tissue. So I wrapped it and I wore it. So apparently after I came out, dots of white tissue and blood will give you pink. Right. That's common colors. Mm-hmm. And so my mom goes in after me in this toilet. And after doing what she wants to do, decides that pink thing she's seen down there is an aborted fetus.
Oh, wow.
That's...
Sorry, how old were you?
I was 11, 12. I never...
Aborted fetus at 11, 12?
Yes, I still thought of this some few weeks ago. Sometimes I'm like, ooh. I know that I have forgiven, but...
Wait, you were not even a teenager yet?
I wasn't.
Aborted
fetus.
It was...
I'm saying this because I'm hoping it will heal someone else. She picks it up and comes out, Ebele, you have committed abortion. I didn't even know what abortion was. And that's the truth. Not this Gen Z that knows everything. I did not know.
You were not a teenager yet.
I was not.
And she said you had.
I said, abortion. I said, yes, you've removed the baby. I said, how? Yes, you did. She was going on. And the next thing she said, she shouted, I think she told the maid, go and call her father because the building, we lived upstairs and the business premise was downstairs. Today, it's my dad's property. He came upstairs, said, no, let's take her to the hospital. I was weeping. I was like literally in shock, wailing like, no. And my dad was looking at her. I said, yes, I'm telling you. This girl has aborted. And this is me trying to, what? Abortion, like...
What does that mean?
What does it mean? I couldn't, and yes, someone... And these things, whether you like it or not, are doors opened. Because I lived the next 30 years being accused of things. People who do things, and next thing they say it's Ebele that did it. I'm always roped into things I did not know about. So, hey, God. So, over the years, when I see people say, it's Ebele, I say, Ebele, it's not today now. If your biological parents did it to you, everybody has a right to do it to you. They were the ones that life took on the responsibility to bring me to this earth realm, because my father was not so perfect. He did his own one crime that was even worse, that had to get Pastor Tunde Bakare involved with his lawyer. My dad now, after they had made a cake of me, of betrayals, rejection, my father now decided, you know what? Looking back, I know, yes, the devil used them. Because I'll tell you for free, I remember recently that what some pastor said to me, you know what? Your stubbornness kept you alive, because the way the enemy hated you so much that he did not even spare your parents in using them to try to take you out. And I can resonate. So there are people who come into this world, you do not know where that meeting that they had, like they had on Job. Have you seen my Job? Just go, do everything. There was nothing. Because after I tell you, round up this second episode, and that was how they dragged my father, said, just let her be. And I went to my room broken. So you can imagine the
Did you eventually go to the hospital?
No, obviously, my father shut down the thing that, no, don't, I mean, you're being too extreme. Check her now. This girl, I think she had me lie down. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Because I know that she had done it like 1-2 times trying to check her. And I'm thinking, what is all this? If your own mother can't trust you, who should trust you? Why should anybody believe in you? I mean, I have...
How was the relationship later in their years? I would want
they eventually got divorced, the marriage, And so that's that thing. He married her at 28, had me when he was 30.
He was 28.
Yes. She was 23. And you see, this generational thing is real.
Later in their years.
Maybe 25 years later. I think I was 23, because I was 23 in the university when the whole marriage thing went.
How was the relationship?
And I had to bear, because this is her at 23 coming to where I was sitting in the sitting room, saying, "You're sitting here. Your daddy loves you. Share. You're going to be a woman like me one day. You're going to experience everything I've experienced. You don't want to talk. You see your father trying to oust me." And so I go and attack my father. My father has me locked up.
Wait. Hold up. Wait. Let me... Yeah, you take a minute. Wait, so let me try and have a picture so the listeners, people can... Wait. So the divorce,
I was still
have done... I think NYSC had finished serving.
I was about finishing at the University of Lagos.
You had not started serving yet.
Yes, not serving yet.
They divorced.
Yes.
And then...
They were in the process of the divorce. It was ongoing.
What
separation.
About the siblings? Where were they? Which side? Who was
my
with which
dad?
Person?
I think, if I add up everything, was a product of external influences.
To divorce?
Yes, because I think it was pretty much settled with she's because I said this with so much because towards the end of his life, he said, your mom really didn't have problems. The only problem was anger. Because that was all she just used to display, bouts of anger. And she can come after you anywhere, anytime, whether your office, anywhere. She just was one of those very erratic, hot-tempered. But that was her only crime. Because, but so towards, because after her, he went on so many women, and he was pretty much alone by the time I came back into his life. Because he called me back into his life to apologize.
So... When they divorced, lost. You guys didn't have any relationship? What
he did was my father was strategic, because that's why I say external influence, because they helped him plan it.
Plan what?
People,
exactly? Friends. What happened? So the divorce separated the entire family?
Yes, this was what my dad did.
Okay. Because
this is why I say the divorce was pretty much predicated on external influences. And my father on his own side, somewhere, somehow, I mean, he didn't just marry her, he was already used to it. But when he started to be more successful in his business enterprise, and, surprisingly, this is the twist of fate. a lot of people, my mom was the jovial, friendly, outgoing type, the party, she was always there for everybody's function.
Okay.
So you would come to her and say you have a problem. She said, oh, go meet my husband. And then she'll come home every night and say, please help. She was the one that brought in. So you see, in spite of her weakness, she had her strength. Okay. She was a very compassionate person. Okay. So everyone, once you had a problem, go and meet my husband, and she would say, please help them. They're going. And so they got closer to my very seemingly quiet father. And then he would... So some of these people, when he would now complain about, see what she's done to me, were like, what is she still doing? Throw her out. They did not remember that she was the one that gave them access. And that's why, in spite of all that my mother did, that was her fight, her demon. I was the threat at a certain stage of my life and to her marriage, because she felt my father loved me more than her. I remember her saying to my two brothers, if my marriage breaks up, it's your sister. Because maybe he would always be attentive to the things that I needed. Give me the extras.
Okay, so the divorce came.
Yes.
You were the eldest.
Yes.
You were around 20.
So he had sent my two brothers, who were supposedly the alluters in the house. Mm-hmm. They would have been violent ones who would have put a stop to it. He had sent them abroad. So this is me, the oldest.
So he was funding those ones
abroad? Yes. So he sent them abroad. So the last two were pretty much very young, because I remember them coming home from secondary school and coming straight to my hostel, because they got home and found out that mommy wasn't there, and they were told that our parents are having issues, and they said, no, told the driver, take us straight to our sister's hostel. So this is me holding my two sisters in my university and trying to tell them everything will be fine, reassuring them. So because I have 9 years between myself and the next girl, and the last one, and 6 years. So I was pretty more,
so what happened to you were in hostel, the two boys
were out,
abroad, and then the last
there was a gap.
And then there was a divorce.
Yes, so the divorce...
what was the final family dynamic now with the mom separation?
Yes, when the whole separation happened, she roped me into it, because my dad had already told me, when you finish university, I'm sending you to France. Because I had my birth certificate, original birth certificate is in French. I was born there, I lived there 3 years, so he could process it. And he said, don't worry, I'll send you, And so my life for me was pretty much covered, because when I went home, one of them days I went home, I was pretty much indifferent, because for me, it's you people's business. I'm here sitting down in front of the TV, probably eating, and then my mom comes out from her room, sits down, and that was one of the worst things I think she did to me. Because she snatched... Well, I would say it's part of the divine process. I believe in God's divine hands. She said, you're sitting here. Now, you're telling this to a 23-year-old girl who was also dealing with relationships, having gone through many rejections, looking for love in the arms of a man, looking for who would accept her. That's a story for another day. And then this is her sitting down, because she cannot even relate to you, her mother, that she's dating. You will kill her. So this is her hiding her pain. She's sitting down, going probably through another one of those heartaches, because I remember who I was dating then, and wondering what has happened. He has disappeared. And she sits down, and the next thing she says is, you're living fine, right? Your father will take care of you. And he's throwing me out of the house. You're not saying anything. And you don't know you're a woman like me. You're going to grow up facing what I've faced. And that literally... She now leaves that. You don't want to fight for me. You don't want to say anything, right? And she leaves. And this is me sitting down, 22-year-old, and I'm thinking, hey, so what should I do? Because the reason for which my father in that position at that point was trying to end the marriage wasn't justified. He had done the wrong. more like an extramarital affair.
Okay, so with all of that happened
yes.
now, the divorce happened eventually.
It did happen. So I went to attack my father.
So where did he leave you? Where did he leave the younger ones?
The
2 younger ones?
The 2 younger ones proceeded to the university. My father was funding, but he left me on the streets because I didn't have a home.
Wait, hold on. So the divorce happened, you didn't have a home?
I finished from...
Of course, you couldn't stay with the mother because she didn't like you?
She didn't have a home either. She had to stay with a cousin. I was just everywhere and nowhere.
But you're your father's favorite. What happened?
Because that statement that she had said to me affected me. That you don't want to fight for me, you don't want to. So I now wake up the next morning resolute. He had moved out of the front house. We had the front house and then we have another house. Like there were 2 houses attached. Yes. Yeah. So I go up the staircase and I go to him. I said, Daddy, this thing you're doing is not good. You know, this. You shouldn't have done this. You know, this one, don't do this.
To do the fight,
I'm trying because she had brought, how, and that's really what I found out. So that's why I keep very less friends now. I don't keep friends because I'm easily influenced. Anyone, once you just get me to understand your side, I take on your fight. So I realized I had been a victim of who gets her first, which was that my mother's sin of my brothers getting her first. So because over the years, I've tried to also map my father's weakness, my mother's weakness, their strengths, and how, what I've carried on so that I can become a better person. I've spent the best part of, after discovering myself, which I discovered at 46, after 10 months, I realized this is me. I'm a late bloomer.
46.
Yes, I'm a late bloomer. So at 46, I had that time out in that Uganda. Those months, they had another lockdown. And that was when I said, Lord, you know what? I think I'm ready. I'm holding your hands. Show me who I am. Why did you form me? Why I'm on earth? I need to know. And that is what has morphed into who I am today.
Okay.
So
I can't even... As a mother myself.
Yes, phantom.
The dynamics between the daughter and the mother and the hate she developed because the father named you after his mother.
No, it wasn't. I think it was not just beyond that, also the attention that I received. She didn't understand that he was filling up for her own too, because she was absent as a mother to me. And those formative age, it was my father who recognized that to wear bra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember I was in the kitchen and they were popping up. And the next thing, they were communicated in French. And I came in, he looked at me. My dad had eyes for the extra details. He was very detailed and very attentive. So they exchanged in French.
That also explains, the situation explains. You said your mother was an orphan.
Yes, so
she didn't have that. So she didn't have that experience.
That's why it was so easy to forgive her. Yeah. Our last year together was last few years together. I remember the day that our last born called me up and said, Mommy says talking to you is difficult. She has to pray before she calls you on the phone. You're not a nice person. You throw her off. She has to pray because we've done the forgiveness. Okay, let's try and heal up this. And I was like, oh my God, is that what I've done to her? And I'm like, okay. So I made the mental consciousness to change. So every time she called, I think I called her and then we talked about it. I said, sorry, sometimes my head is full, maybe it's work or whatever. And so, once you call, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to you. But I made that conscious effort during the last, I would say maybe the last 4 years before she passed on, to be a good daughter, to make it up to her. Yes, because I remember saying to her, now I am the mother, you're the daughter. So from now on, we had the last few years, so because that the scars are still there. So, you had asked a question that I think it was the affection my father had showed me, and it rattled her. it rattled her a lot, and because she didn't get it better anywhere, raised an orphan at 6, thrown into foster homes, care. How much did she know?
She was also seeking for love.
She was seeking for love. She was seeking, because I recall her telling me one day, you see, your father didn't, I can't remember her words, more like, he didn't know when he hurt me. They had a communication problem. They couldn't express.
Yeah.
Never did. Because both of them told me what it was. He never told me, he never talks to me. He preferred to talk to the outside people.
That is very much an African thing, though.
Yes.
Very much.
So which is very destructive.
Wow.
to
Very
homes.
emotional unpacking.
Yes.
What I would want to touch on right now
Yes.
is what you said at the beginning. Oh, I've had many marriages, I can't remember.
Yes.
I would want us to touch the different
Okay.
marriages and
so-
how each of them started and ended.
How they ended. Okay,
Yeah,
so
like let's have like a count of them.
Yes,
and
I
why.
will.
You said that yes, you're now a Mrs.
yes,
for
I
the
would arrive
Lord.
at how I'm a Mrs. now.
Yes, but I would want to have a
Okay,
recount
so-
of the different marriages. How did they start? What happened and how they ended?
And I guess back in secondary school, we were all exposed to Mills and Boone. So we had that perfect tall man, love, whatever. So pretty much the romance seed had been sown, right? So I go into the university and I started to date like every other person. I remember my first time moving to the hostel, my dad had this little get together for me. They just made this special food of our native soup, really, and and the driver, and he had this speech of every Friday the driver will come and pick you up, and that weekend you come home, you're a good girl, don't join politics, don't join this. It was really nice, and I went into the university. That day I got into the hostel was Valentine's Day. So pretty much I saw so much happening, and I'm like seeing all oh wow. And so by Sunday, when the public address system said, oh, Ebele Ejiofor, I went to the driver, I said, go and tell my father I have lectures on Sunday. Please, you should free me. I'm in the university. So I also had my love interests, and one day he broke up. In fact, we are very good friends now. I had made a habit of being very good friends with my exes because I could forgive them. So it was even in recent years I found out why the first one broke off from me. He said, I broke off because your life was a threat because I'm in the cult thing. I said, okay, but the way you suddenly so it was my love interest, cold hearts, I don't buy you, sang all the nice songs, and then by third year, I wasn't looking for marriage. I just knew that I wanted to experience whatever it was love had. And in between this, I had 2-3 times, maybe some guy would walk up to me and say, please, can I walk you down to the school chapel? And I would be like, okay, I have something to say to you. The Lord said...
But in all of this,
Yeah.
your body size wasn't a problem, was it?
It wasn't. Surprisingly, I've had cousins who say to me, Ebele, as big as you attracted the nicest of men. How come? But I think it was more of the sexual image.
No way.
No, I know why I say, I'm going to tell you why I say so.
No, like a cousin.
Yes,
literally
she
that.
said, we are fine now, we are slim. But why is it that this was in London when I lived. Emily, this one likes you, this one wants to date you.
Hey.
What is it about? I think looking back today,
I would have blocked some people by now.
it was the sex thing. I had the sex
Appeal.
body. The boobs were there.
Everything was sex.
And maybe the lips, because I've had a few references to, are they real? I'm like, how are
Today,
they?
sorry, reference today or back then?
Like, this was even like 3-4 years ago.
Oh,
is this
okay.
real? I'm like,
when it started being...
how is it not supposed
I
to be
think-
real? Like, So I think, and I remember, so when I look at the comments, I think it was more of the body.
Right.
And then, there are people that like the big body.
Yes.
So I seemed to attract them.
Apparently the skinny men like the big women.
Big, yes. So I agree with you. So by my third year, I had my first I had another boyfriend. I was just basically, for me, love.
You didn't lack boyfriends.
I didn't lack. I was always having love interest. And then I actually asked a guy out, one guy that I liked.
You like somebody else?
Yes.
Ebele, you can see how you find yourself in trouble.
Yes, and I liked him, and I started, he agreed to date me, and one day I woke up, I realized I didn't want to anymore. I'm thinking, no, because you see, for them, I love you meant sex.
But wait, isn't that still today?
No, it's not.
Ebele, it's still the same
No,
today.
it's not. I love you for them then was interpreted as sleeping with you. It's a whole lot more than that.
It's still today.
No, sex is just a tiny part of love.
No, what
truly
I mean
loving
is,
someone.
What I mean is,
it's essential. Okay, that's
to men,
still that's the culture,
still,
but it's a very, very wrong, empty mindset. Okay, so I think it was maybe my third or fourth year. The only birthday party I ever had, because it was like the norm. It was everywhere. Everyone had one in school, 21st birthday. So my 21st had passed because I'm February. So, and then I saw the pattern. So peer pressure, me too, I wanted one. So I went home and I said, Papa, me too, I'm having my own birthday party. So this was my 22nd. So, and then I was dating this guy. So I came home. My dad literally had me having a very big party. Everyone was involved, his workers, everyone. It was a very big one. Schoolmates came, and my mom later, she called me aside and said, so that guy that I think, so who is in your life? I said, not really, we're just friends. I said, see, let me tell you, don't come home without a Catholic and an Igbo man.
That's easy to find though.
Yes.
Because most Igbos are Catholics. From
Igbo man. So that disqualified my love interest.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Okay.
So the moment I caught a Catholic and an Igbo man, I knew he was the one. Oh, well.
You found your spec.
I found my mother's spec, not my spec.
Right, it's a spec given to you.
Because that was the qualification for marriage to be enacted in my home.
Wow.
So we started. It didn't, off and on, it didn't really work out, and it wasn't a good relationship, but I held on. I'm a stickler. I'm that woman that even if you're killing me there, we don't go. You're there. Committed. So the beatings came. He would belt me.
Wait, was this in the marriage?
In the hostel, before the marriage. Eventually, my schoolmates even threatened to go report to my parents. And then, this is the person that wrote a letter. If you want to marry me, come and marry me now. So the red flag did not start when the letter came. It started even when we were dating. And dating him was pretty much, there was abstinence from sex. Because I wasn't, but the pressure was coming. So I remember that holiday, I'd flown to Abuja. My dad had said my guardian in secondary school wanted to spend the Salah holiday with myself and two of our other proteges. So we were there. So it was while we were in that council that I said, you know what? I think it's time to give this thing out. I've kept it for so long. That's my virginity. And okay, let me just sacrifice it. Let me have peace, because this looks like the husband. He's Catholic, is this. Let me just give him so that I don't lose him, because this is me trying to look good in my mother's book. Acceptance, at least let there be something that she has finally accepted me for, and also be accepted. So it was an acceptance journey, really.
None of
this
pressure
was me wanting these things. And if you know how you have lived a life for so long as your reality.
So you did stay a virgin into your early 20s?
Yes. So this was me around 21, 22. Mm-hmm. So, and we started, but it wasn't normal, He would wake me up and, and then, according to him, he said that because he had come to do his master's program, that the whole school, maybe when we were walking through, they said, that girl, everyone would say, this is how the lies continued. Oh, is it not her? I've slept with her. So I was thinking, why am I keeping myself to, why is she forming? Meanwhile, I was having a council meeting in Abuja, as in how to finally give my sacredness.
Wait, why was there? She had slept with them. What was
because I was pretty I would say popular, but I was pretty much known. Like Ebele, I was, in my time, I was quite, it's Ebele, because I defied a lot of the cult groups. I was beaten up by them.
Oops.
Yes, beaten up by them. Like, they brought out a gun to shoot me down. I mean, that's why there were really many episodes. Like, Ebele again.
All through.
Ebele again. It's only
Guinea.
Ebele that they saw, because they raped some, they poured poo on some. It's as if Unilag, pretty much decent school, now went to import some tougher groups. They said, this school, we need to, a reign of terror. And I was always open to defy everyone. And so they came for me. I mean, one night, everybody was watching the popular Mexican soap opera, The Rich Also Cry. And there I was in my room, and they swarm in and beat the living daylights out of me.
They came for you
Oh, yes, it was me. You, Ebele, I mean, look. So, so they beat me up. And I understand years later the reason why they didn't, they brought out the gun after, because they took their turns to beat me up. Flogged me with this
I'm just thinking, thank God it wasn't a change of rape.
Yes,
or a chain of rape.
Because I know one of us was gang raped. She told me. They picked her up one night, and there was turn by turn they gang raped her.
I think I would have taken the beating.
So, well, this was in the hostel. And I wasn't that kind of person you would see. I don't know. I think that inner self, always. I remember one famous party one night, everybody was going for that party. So by the time I got ready, I got to where I could get a cab, and some boys just rolled up. Oh, yeah, is it not the party we're going? And something said, you better run for your life. You enter this car, you're
So you've been having the inner voice?
Yes, I've had it. It's been there.
And you listen?
Yes, so when I take my time to listen, I know.
Okay.
Something just said to me, you better take off. That inner voice just said, run. So I said, okay, I'm coming. That was why I did a backtrack, ran to my hostel. I said, look, Ebele, the hostel was practically empty. So maybe the only people there were maybe the Jehovah Deeper Life people. Okay. Every other person, it was one of those rave
the Christians
parties.
Were out.
Everyone, so those extreme ones. So this guy, okay, I finally gave you my beautiful, because it was a thing to be gathered. You're still holding your own, because it was loose. Like everyone was giving. I said, no, I'm keeping. And then I give you, it wasn't enough. You now wanted to take me from behind. I should, God. Like anal sex. Oh boy, I said no way. The beating I collected. Hey, this guy.
Wait, from this same boyfriend?
Yes, I still married though. If not that, even me, myself, desperation to be accepted.
He wasn't married to you.
We were still dating. Yes. What he did was stand up, increase the volume of the music in the room. He now brought out his belt. This was how this guy was belting me.
Wait, why?
That I must do it though. He must take me from it, as in.
How much older How much older
this was
20.
He? I was a year. This was 22, 23.
No, he was how old?
Just a year older than me. We're youths. We're young.
So not much older.
No. But I was desperate to be accepted.
And you allowed him with you?
If I tell you a more gross one, I don't think you'll survive.
Let's try. Join us for the continuation of this episode.